I've read quite a few books on finance and investing now, but none have resonated with me like The Psychology of Money did. And this book isn't really about investing or finance. It's more about appreciating the psychology behind money. And in this video, I want to share some of the key takeaways that have stuck out to me. So, if you're interested in understanding money better, keep watching. In the preface, Morgan opens with an interesting quote by John Maynard Keynes. He says, "It is not a secret that the most certain way to make money in Wall Street is to look for messages from Washington that men who act promptly are likely to become the heroes of the next 5 minutes." And then Morgan adds this footnote: "There's plenty of people who fit this description, but there's almost nobody who stays that way for long." What this tells us is that while there are patterns in human behavior, those patterns aren't always reliable. Our behavior can change, and there's no single path to financial success. You can't just copy what other people do and expect the same results. This idea runs throughout the entire book. There's no universal logic to money. There's only personal context. So when it comes to deciding what to do with our money, we all need to find what works best for us. In Chapter 1, Morgan talks about how janitors can retire rich while CEOs can go bankrupt. He introduces us to someone he calls the janitor, who worked for General Motors for 42 years. At the time of his death, he left behind a $1.3 million pension and $500,000 in savings. But throughout his life, he lived modestly. He drove used cars, never took vacations, and was known for eating the same lunch every day. On the other hand, we meet someone he calls the CEO, who ran a business with over 6,000 employees. While he earned a lot, he spent even more. He loved fine dining, bought expensive art, collected sports memorabilia, and ultimately declared bankruptcy. Now, you might think the CEO has done something wrong here. After all, he was making $750,000 a year. How could he possibly run out of money? And the answer is that it doesn't matter how much you make. What matters is how you handle the money you have. Now, the CEO might argue that he deserves to enjoy his money because he works hard and contributes a lot. But here's the thing. The janitor also worked hard and contributed a lot in his own way. There's no objective measure of what counts as hard work or valuable contributions. It's all relative. What this means for us is that financial success isn't about comparing ourselves to others or what we perceive as deserving. It's about managing our own resources effectively. One of the key differences between the janitor and the CEO is their approach to money. The janitor understood the power of small, consistent steps, saving a little bit each month, never taking on debt, and sticking with what he knew. On the other hand, the CEO got caught up in the allure of more. He wanted bigger, faster returns, and fell victim to get-rich-quick schemes. The problem with wanting more, as Morgan points out, is that without defining what enough means, more becomes a dangerous temptation. It's like chasing a moving target. The more you earn, the more you need to keep up with the lifestyle associated with that income. The more you invest, the more you feel compelled to seek out higher returns. And it's easy to fall into this trap. When we compare ourselves to others and feel the need to keep up with them, we lose sight of what we truly value and settle for a life that doesn't align with our goals and aspirations. Another important lesson from this chapter is the importance of understanding your own behavior. We all have different attitudes towards risk, money, and success. What works for one person might not work for another. For example, someone who grew up during high inflation might be risk-averse, because they've seen firsthand how quickly prices can rise and erode their purchasing power. On the other hand, Someone who grew up during a bull market might be more willing to take risks because they've experienced a steady increase in asset values and feel confident in their ability to grow their wealth. This is why it's essential to recognize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to financial planning. One of the most intriguing aspects of the book is how Morgan weaves in stories and anecdotes to illustrate his points. He tells the story of two brothers, Paul and Barry, who were given $10,000 after they sold their father's estate. Both brothers had expenses to cover, but Barry was eager to start spending his share immediately. Paul, on the other hand, decided to hold on to his money and save up for retirement. Fast forward 30 years, and Paul ends up with $2.8 million, while Barry finds himself needing to rely on his friends for help. Here, Morgan uses this story to underscore the importance of patience and delayed gratification. He highlights that Barry's lack of patience led him to squander his inheritance, whereas Paul's willingness to wait and save paid off in the long run. This idea is further emphasized with the story of George, who started working at McDonald's at age 14 and retired as a millionaire. Throughout his life, he lived simply, reinvesting his earnings and avoiding debt. His story illustrates the power of compounding and the importance of starting early. By sharing these stories, Morgan makes abstract concepts like patience and delayed gratification more tangible and relatable. It shows us that these qualities aren't just abstract virtues, but practical tools for building wealth. Money is more than just a medium of exchange. It's a reflection of our thoughts, values, and responses to uncertainty. That's the central argument of the psychology of money. To truly understand money, we must explore how our minds process it, how our past experiences shape our relationship with it, and how our choices influence its trajectory in our lives. Wealth is not just about amassing large sums of money, but about making smart decisions, embracing the unknown, and living a life that aligns with our own unique journey. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in understanding some of the key points in the psychology of money. If you haven't already, I highly recommend reading the book. I promise you won't regret it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.